Welcome. I will call the Common Council meeting on October 26, 2021 to order at 7:31. First up is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And roll call, please.
Alder Allen.
Present.
Alder Radafrada. Here. Alder Gerhart.
Here.
Alder Herbst. Here. Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Mayor Richardson. Here. Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
All right, thank you. First up is the public swearing in ceremony of our new police chief. I want to first thank Interim Chief Leahy for all his work in the last few months here as we found a new chief. I also want to thank Sarah from HR, PFC, and all the many people in the community that helped through this process. A lot of people are involved. We got a lot of input from various people, and very happy and pleased to welcome Chief Al Morales here to Fitchburg. And it's only the fourth police chief in Fitchburg, so we tend to keep him for quite a long time, so you're stuck here for a little while, sorry. But, very excited about it and excited to work with you. I know people in the community are very excited as well, so welcome. And we're gonna have Tracy come and do our the swearing in for us. So Tracy, if you want to.
I, Alfonso Morales,
Who have been appointed to the office of police chief
who have been appointed to the office of police chief
in the city of Fitchburg, Dane County, Wisconsin,
in the city of Fitchburg, Dane County, Wisconsin,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'll start off with the thanks. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the leadership here in the city of Fitchburg that handled a process that I think was very extensive and thoughtful. And that goes from the HR manager, Sarah, who's not here, Sarah Olson. I also want to thank the city administrator who played a big role in it, Chad Brecklin. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Police and Fire Commission for serving their position and having the courage to select me. I know it was a difficult decision, and I will prove them. I will prove the city of Fitchburg. Council, I will prove you all right in that decision. I'm very humbled for you to have chosen me to be your police chief. We look at 21st century policing, and what does that entail? That entails data, it entails technology, it entails human intelligence. So one would say, what is human intelligence? Human intelligence is the community piece. The information doesn't necessarily come from interviews and interrogations, although that's part of police work, but it comes from dealing with your community, bringing the community together, all forms of government, to identify the problems and work together to deal with the problems. In that sense, we talk about how policing in America has evolved. And it's been evolving for decades, where if you go back to the broken windows theory, policing was the weight of the problems in America were on police shoulders. The weight of communities, the problems in our communities in America now, are on all of our shoulders to come together, work on the problem, and identify the solutions. Together, I can tell you, those ideas will come easier, and together, we'll be happier with the results. I look forward to serving the city of Fitchburg, and I thank you very much. God bless you.
We do have set up right down the hall a room with some refreshments. I know there's cupcakes down there. Council members, you can maybe go one at a time. We need to keep going here. And people online, sorry you're out of luck. We can't give you a cupcake. Maybe there'll be some tomorrow if you want to stop by City Hall, but I'd stop early if I were you. But again, thank you very much, and feel free to go down there, and welcome. And I do not have anyone that wants to speak on any other non-agenda item. So having nothing else on that, we can go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jay, seconded by Dave. Is there anything anyone wants to do separately on the consent agenda? Gabrielle?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the minutes.
All right. Anything else? All right, seeing none, then all in favor of approving the consent agenda except for the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. And then the minutes, Gabriella?
Just a very minor change on page 4 under the 2021-014 ordinance. The second amendment, the word by, BY, should be removed.
All right, would you like to make a motion to approve as amended?
I will move to approve as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Administrator's report.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few items tonight. Both the Fish Hatchery Road and the South Sign Road construction projects, in conversation with our city engineer, appear to be on schedule for this construction season, so that is good news for both of those particular projects. If you've been on Fish Hatchery Road recently, you can certainly see that most, if not all, of the blacktop has been laid, and there's just some finishing work here before we move into the apparently forthcoming winter season or non-construction season in Wisconsin. Halloween is Sunday, and recommended trick-or-treating hours for those of you that might be interested in dressing up and visiting your neighbors are 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then finally, Park Bank is having their grand opening and ribbon cutting on Thursday, the 28th, from 4 to 5 p.m., and that is their new location, or I should say their newly constructed location that replaced their previous building at the corner of Fish Hatchery Road and Greenway Cross. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Yeah, Julia, a question.
Yes, I have a question, Chad. Regarding the fish hatchery, I was looking the other day, I was driving there and I had the opportunity to take a look at the sidewalk in some of the areas. So it seems that some area the sidewalk is new sidewalk, but there are other areas where this is the old sidewalk and it's very old. I thought that the idea was to redo all the sidewalk on the west side.
I can check with our
Can you
city
check?
engineer
Okay.
and get back to you. How's that
Thank
sound?
you, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we can keep moving to the Plan Commission. Randy?
Okay. Motion to approve Resolution R-207-21, CDP-237921, approving Comprehensive Development Plan Request, CDP-2379-21, by Jamie Lapp, agent for Fitchburg Minerals, LLC, to allow for residential development on property along Lacey Road, Section 18. This was postponed from the August 24th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Plan Commission approve?
Plan Commission approved.
All right, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, see, the applicant is requesting approval of a comprehensive development plan to allow for residential subdivision. It's an 86-acre site situated on the corner of Lacey Road and Fitch-Rona Road. It has the edge of the It's on the edge of the urban service area and adjacent to the South Stoner Prairie Future Urban Development Area. And just to the north, the Quarry Ridge neighborhood resides. The applicant is proposing to develop approximately 62.37 acres of the site at this time. And Mayor, would you like to add anything?
I mean, not really at this time. I know that they worked with staff quite a bit. I know that there's some, part of the reason it was delayed is because of the steep incline to Lacey Road, and they've worked with staff to figure that piece out. And other than that, I think it's a great neighborhood, and it's, you know, some lots over on the west side of the city, which there's not a lot of, and not a lot of future potential right now anyway. But I know that there's stuff in the budget for that, so I think it's going to be a very popular project. We do have Jamie Lapp here representing Payne and Dolan, available to answer any questions. And I did have one email from a citizen to read quick. This is from Jay Hockmuth, who lives here in Fitchburg. And let's see, if the motion is made to approve this CDP, please consider including as a condition of approval the following wording of equivalent effect, unless the reasons offered below are not valid. All costs of constructing or expanding the stormwater detention basin within the boundary of this subdivision shall be shared between the city and the developer in proportion to the amount of stormwater contributed in a year of typical rainfall by the subdivision once fully developed on the Lacey Road right-of-way. The reason for this request is that according to information on the city website, the city will pay the cost of installing the detention basin to handle stormwater from the Lacey Road right-of-way, and the developer will pay the cost of expanding the detention basin to handle stormwater from the subdivision when needed. This method of allocating construction costs will result in city taxpayers paying more than their fair share of construction costs of the detention basin, unless the marginal inflation-adjusted cost of adding capacity at a later date will be greater than the developer's pro rata share of the construction cost of installing a properly sized detention basin initially. Thank you for seeing this request and for your service to Fitchburg. All right, questions, comments from people on council? Julia.
I have a couple of questions. I was reading the staff memo from the Plan Commission package. One of the things that I want to ask is about the parkland dedication. It mentioned that the applicant is proposing to dedicate 15 acres of land, but there is only 3 acres of land is going to be active park space. So what does it mean, active park space, and what we are going to do with the rest of the other acres that we cannot use?
I believe what I remember from the discussion is the active is like where a playground would be, maybe soccer fields, kind of what you'd consider more of a traditional park, and then the other parts to it would be nature areas. They maybe said there might be walking paths through that, but it's more of like the McGaw Woods, for example, wouldn't be active. That's more of a passive type of thing. So it'd be more like that, something along those lines.
Yeah, because it mentioned also that some of those land is going to be, the slope is going to be too high. So, you know what I mean? So my question goes to, because we have a discussion in Parks Committee, it's about when developer dedicate parkland to the city, we need to consider what type of land we are getting, you know what I mean? So this is what I ask in this question, because now I am more aware of what is parkland dedication and what type of parkland we should get. So I was surprised to see that, you know, this is what I asked question, 15 acres, only 3 are gonna be parkland, you know, that we can use. So I want to know what is gonna be the use from the rest of the parkland. If the city is gonna have to maintain that, or is gonna be like a wooded area where we don't need to maintain, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you have more questions?
Yes, I have another question. When I read the hydrology report, it mentioned that some of the water flow to the Lake Goose area. So my question is, because we know that area is flood easily, the lake has its issues, and I know that the city working with the town of Verona to try to mediate those issues. So I want to know if the Plan Commission review carefully all of these issues about stormwater and how the water flow to an area where already is flooding, And if the town of Verona, had any issue with this or any comment about this development, how it's going to affect the flow of water going to Lake Goose, I don't know. I don't know if you discussed that in Plan Commission. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any comments. I don't know if, Bill, you've heard anything from them. I mean, I think they'd like to have nothing additional done there, but I don't know that that's realistic, especially when the development has happened. I think that you run into work concerns as long as they meet the requirements, and there's state requirements on what groundwater they have and what can do runoff. And I know that the town of Verona is working on getting Goose Lake. They actually got, I think they were awarded some funding to improve the outflows of Goose Lake because there was a bottleneck there, and they're working on doing that to help reduce that flooding. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we are in the running yet for some state money from a Senate earmark and a House Representative earmark for stormwater and environmental for Goose Lake for the design and construction of that. So we'll hopefully, we'll obtain that and we'll be able to work with the town of Verona to offset some of the costs that are associated with the improvements that need to be made in that area. The developer is required by statute and local ordinance, Dane County as well, to provide a certain amount of stormwater. And they're going to be doing that analysis through their preliminary plat to make sure that the impact downstream is not worse. So they are taking that into account in when they're doing their preliminary plat submittal coming up in the future.
Yeah, I know that's one of those things. I believe at one point in time we could require them to take care of 100% of the runoff, but then the developer, I don't know who it was, some lobbying group got the state to change the law, so now it's only 90% of the runoff, but that's just the guidelines we have to go with. We can't require more, unfortunately. Gabriella.
Yeah, I'm quite concerned about the stormwater issues in this area too. I know that they I was reading their descriptions about what they're planning to do and that it's based on our ordinances. I'm not convinced that our stormwater ordinances are really enough necessarily based on what's happening with climate change and the projections in terms of the amount of water we're going to see and intense storm events. And so if you read some of these stormwater requirements, they talk about, you have to accommodate a 100-year storm event, but the important phrase there is it's over a 24-hour period of time. And these 100-year storm events often don't happen over 24 hours. They happen in a matter of 45 minutes or an hour. And that type of flooding is very different than a long rainstorm. So this is more of a broad concern I have about this, but this project and the project we're going to look at next with the plan on the Plan Commission agenda they're both in the Goose Lake watershed. And I think we've seen recently about all the consequences of building a development and then having to deal with the stormwater issues later on down the line because things weren't thought of in advance. And so I'm quite concerned about this project potentially down the line leading to significant costs for the city and having to manage stormwater issues. So, I mean, is there, and I watched the Plan Commission meeting and I didn't get, it sounds to me like there isn't a lot of information from the developer at this point about how they'll manage stormwater. Is that accurate? Is there any more information that the developer that's there tonight can give?
Yeah, I think Bill mentioned that they're doing some final analysis as well, but Jamie, I don't know if you have additional information or not right now. Okay, nothing additional that they have right now. Just that we'll meet the stormwater. They're gonna meet the, you're representing people.
We don't have final design completed, but yeah, our intention is just to meet the stormwater ordinance, which requires us to decrease from the existing condition to the proposed condition. We can't let more water go downstream than what's going there today, so we can't make the situation any worse.
Thank you. And then Julia, you got another question?
Yeah, In the staff report also, it mentioned about public works staff have noted a preference for the stormwater facility to be public. And then in the maps, there are some area where they said that the stormwater, there are some stormwater facility are going to be private. Can you explain a little bit more what is the final decision about they're going to be public or they're going to be private?
I think, Bill can speak to this more, but,
Okay.
and so we need some as a city for Lacey Road reconstruction. And so we are kind of working with Payne and Dolan to have a bigger retention basin so that it needs to be one, and it will actually reduce the cost for both of us by doing it now and together. But Bill, why don't you speak to that more?
Right, that's the intention. It depends on the timeline that the developer's going forward with. We may be ahead of them so that we would construct what we would need for our road facility. And then as development occurs, as they go forward with their plans, they'll be able to expand upon that. Eventually that basin area will be public because it will have, public stormwater going into it as a regional basin. So currently I think it's an outlot right now, but it would be dedicated to the public upon completion of the stormwater study that's being done.
Can I go Dave and then back to
okay,
Julie?
and
Go ahead, Dave.
I'm not opposed to subdivision. I'm concerned a short time later, residents that live there are going to be down here hollering at me that I have to improve Fitchburg Road because they're tired of driving on this lousy road. And, this subdivision will contribute quite a bit of the traffic of that. And I hate seeing the taxpayers get stuck on the, stuck for improving something that the subdivision will be contributing to quite a bit. I don't know, Bill, if there's any plans for us to do anything, or Mayor, if you know anything, because it's a joint road, but I see that coming, and as a taxpayer, I think the subdivision should pay for some of that. That's all.
Yeah. I'll speak to it for a second. I think not only that, but you have also Verona's additions of Costco. I just saw they have some other building that's going up that has like 200 employees in it. Unfortunately, they're going to put a lot more stress on the road, and they're not going to pay anything. But we've talked with the town of Verona. We're trying to come to agreement. They don't want to improve it to the level it needs to be, but we are in discussions with them about that. Bill, do you want to speak to that any further?
Andrew and myself have been in conversation with the town of Verona, with their public works department on the improvements that are necessary in that area. We do have a capital improvement project coming up with construction in 24, with planning and design coming up in the next couple of years. So we've started those conversations with the town. We are looking to come to an agreement as to what cost sharing would be available. We're pursuing grants as well to offset some of that cost. And the developer is going to be paying for some of the improvements along that roadway or along Fitchburg in their platted area. So it is being taken into account that they will have an impact on the road. And I believe what they've shown on their plan was a right turn bypass lane. So, they do have some improvements that are being proposed, and will most likely roll that into the overall construction cost going forward.
Julia, do you have another question?
Yeah, so a final comment is, I am in favor to have another development in that area, because we need more single home units, residents. In the Verona School District, this one is going to add another 123 units, but I am concerned about, the stormwater issue. I don't want, because it's kind of low, the area. We have Goose Lake with a tremendous problem there, and I want to be sure that people, when they buy a lot there, they're safe. It's not going to happen what we are seeing in this old neighborhood now in Fitchburg that they were built in low areas, and now they're having all this flood issue, you know. So I want to be sure that as a city, we are not liable in the future. And I want to be sure that we are building safe and dry, and to address the Goose Lake issue, because we are putting 123 units in the lot, and that water is going to run off through Goose Lake, and that one is my concern, to be sure that we cover our back and all our corners with this.
Jim?
It seems like we're missing a lot of information here, and I'm just wondering, when will we get this information so I think we can make a better decision?
Which information are you?
Like on stormwater issues, as far as, you know, stormwater rates and everything else like that, and what's going to be that impact, you know, of doing this project.
Yeah, I guess, you know, one of the things that Jamie had mentioned is that they're required to not have more water run off the property than what is right now. So this is, I mean, I think this is a pretty common stage where we're at right now with the information we have, but there are requirements that they can't just have all the water run off into Goose Lake or anything like that. There are state requirements that they have to follow, and some of that is that, like I mentioned earlier, that they can't have more runoff than is right now.
Okay.
Without the approved plat, they can't do those final calculations because they need to make sure they know how many lots there are, and they think they know what it is, but you know, without that final plat and the approvals, they don't know that.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
When we get these, we need that information, I think. Not now, but eventually.
Yeah, we will absolutely get that information, yeah. Gabriella, I saw you had a hand up.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm not sure who's best to answer this question, but in terms of the zoning that's currently here, so are they precluded from including any sort of apartment buildings as part of the development because of the zoning, or is it just a choice, on the part of the developer to not include any sort of apartment buildings as part of the development?
It's really their choice. I mean, I
Okay.
think there could have been a little bit, but there are requirements on how many dwelling units per acre that area can have.
So I'm sorry, is it Lisa that's here from Panhandle?
Jamie,
I'm sorry. Jamie, is there going to be any potential to look at some additional units? I'm concerned about we do need more housing stock, but from the proposal that I read through, it said that the homes will be starting at 425,000 and the duplexes will start at 375,000, which is very high in my opinion. And we do desperately need like both more rental properties, but then also kind of lower things that are lower priced than that. And so I don't know if there was any consideration or potential for there to be some slightly higher density things that could potentially have a lower price point.
I guess I think some of it is just there are some of those in the area, like you have Viridian's the stuff that's a mile and a half up the road, and I think there's other spots in the city where there are some of those smaller lots, and I think it's important to have a variety of options. Not to say that you don't always want big, you don't always want small, you want a mix, and there are some duplex lots in this as well, which have, again, they're not apartments or anything like that, but I will say right up the street, we do have some workforce housing that's going in right behind Hy-Vee, and that's a big apartment building up there. It's a high-end senior apartments as well. It's right up, it's just probably not even a mile up for Fitchburg Road there. Yeah. And that makes more sense to have it there.
I mean, but you could have townhouses that are much more dense. I mean, the duplexes are still, 375,000 for a duplex seems, I don't know. We have a problem with affordability of lots, and it would be nice if the development was able to bring in a different type of unit. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you. Anything else? Yep. Okay, Julia.
So the staff memo also mentioned about the to have a traffic study is required. So when that traffic study is going to be provided before the preliminary plat, this is what is not considered one of the staff recommendations like a requirement.
Bill, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think Andrew might be able to address that one on the traffic study. you know, in a little more detail is what's required, but, you know, the information that they'll be submitting, based upon their final plat and development, is something that's going to be coming forward, with the final plat, or the preliminary plat. So, it's a requirement that, you know, we're going to require and design the system that's needed, but we have a pretty good idea of what's needed out there. We just need to confirm that with the final traffic analysis.
We will see this
Yeah.
traffic study.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I don't see anything else, so I can go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, nay. All right, that passes.
I'd like to abstain.
Oh, sorry. Abstains. All right. Gabriella's going to abstain. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Jamie. Next one, Randy.
Motion to approve Resolution R-208-21, CDP-2407-21, approving comprehensive development plan request, CDP-2407-21 by Clint Weinginger, agent for Payne and Dolan, to allow for a two-lot land division and industrial development on property associated with 6145 McKee Road, Lot 2, CSM 7700.
Is there a second? Seconded by Jay. And do you want to speak to this, Randy?
Yes, Plan Commission approved. Let's see, the applicant is requesting approval of the comprehensive development plan to allow for two-lot land division and an industrial warehouse development. It's a 53-acre site that fronts Cottonwood Drive and is adjacent to the Badger State Trail and Verona Road. A portion of the site is an active quarry. And let's see, the CDP would allow for the two-lot land division. Proposed Lot 1 is 45.5 acres and encompassing the existing quarry. The applicant is proposing a flag lot to maintain direct access to Cottonwood Drive. And then the proposed Lot 2 is 7.5 acres, which is currently vacant. The lot would be rezoned to IG, Industrial General, to accommodate a warehouse for general beverage.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key, is that they're doing this so that general beverage can expand.
Right.
If they can't, then they'll probably look to move somewhere else, which might not be in Fitchburg. That's kind of the key. Anything you want to add, Jamie? All right. We do have John and Debbie Paul who would like to speak. If you'd like to come up on one of the microphones. And just a reminder that you both have 3 minutes, but we do have 3 minutes here at council.
Hi, thank you. Well, we did come and speak before the councils or the plan commission, but we wanted to come here because I was kind of a last minute. We spoke really fast, but there was a couple really key points that we wanted to bring up. And one was the stormwater management, which is a very, 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 very big concern for us because our property, when we bought it, it is low. We did build it up, but per the plan, we have a culvert, so we don't have a stormwater pond. It was not a requirement at the time. And it works really well for our property, but it does drain across the street under Cottonwood to the drainage ditch that runs east-west and then runs south towards Goose Lake. And when Goose Lake is high and we have a lot of water, we do get back up, which I did put in my notes if that was included with the things that came to you guys. So that was the number one concern. The other reason I brought up was the flag lot, and our biggest concern was that because in the future, it sounds like that back acreage may become developed and that flag lot or that access would be potentially become a city street. And that city street ends on Cottonwood, but goes right into our driveway, which is our access to Cottonwood. And it would be an easy cut through, which is happening now, and we have to kind of stop a few people and say this is a private driveway. Cutting through to get to McKee Road and then over to Quick Trip or whatever, because it's a quick left out and not have to wait for the stoplight at Commerce Park and PD. So I'm really concerned about that. So we are hoping as the number one neighbor and lot that's most affected by this development. I have no problem with the development. I think it fits in with the neighborhood, but I think the design of the street and where it's being proposed is not beneficial to the neighbors, and we'd like to see maybe somehow that street be moved and the development be turned, instead of running the full 7 acres, is that east-west, run north-south or something, so that you could maybe table it, it could be redesigned. The other problem we have is the proposed lot is asking for 2 driveways onto Cottonwood, and, you know, every lot would like to have 2 accesses. I think if it does go through, I think 1 driveway would be enough for that lot, because I think having bigger trucks and warehouse trucks coming out on 2 driveways with all the bikers that run along that road, I think safety and parking would be a big issue. So that was my biggest concerns that we had put in there, and you saw that there was no neighborhood meeting. We were never told anything about it till I got the notice in the mail, so we had to kind of scramble to look at what was happening. And the city water and sewer is a big concern. I know that when Cottonwood was expanded, the road got a little wider just to put in curb and gutter there, and we have a fire hydrant on our side, but there's nothing on the other side, so I don't know how that would cross or affect us. So that was my biggest concerns.
Well, again, and just to reiterate what she's saying, and I don't want to take up too much time, but one of the things that concerns me, again, is the water issues that we have, because with all the development that's gone on around us, we've been there 30 years. So it's been a while, and every time something else goes in, it seems like we get a little bit more water backing up onto our property after a heavy rain. So I'd like that issue to be really looked at if this goes forward, because I saw in some of the plans that some of their water retention and some of their designs actually moved everything right onto Cottonwood, which would more or less flood us out even more. The other issue that I have, again, is their driveway, or what will in the future become city street. I have no doubt that it will become city street, and once that lot is sold as complete frontage, there's no way to run the city street through that lot. There's going to be a warehouse there. My feeling is that lot could run north-south instead of east-west, turn it, put the street over a little bit so it doesn't run right into our driveway. We don't have the opportunity to have a left in, left out. That was decided 25 years ago when the road was redesigned in front of us. So because of that, we have to have an open access point at the back of our property and an open access point at the front. It's basically a throughway, easy for cars to cut through. Right now, Payne and Dolan has been a great neighbor. They've controlled that because they control who comes in and out of their property. Once that becomes a public street, and once you have other properties behind it, and once that street goes through to wherever it goes, we don't know the traffic flow. We don't know how many cars are going to come in and out. If it's 500 cars, 100 cars, 1,000 cars a day, I don't want to be having to be the traffic cop standing out there. There's no way for us to control that, and I think the easiest way to control that would be to move the street over now before it becomes a problem in the future. Because once it's approved, this flag lot, there's no turning back. And so that's a major concern of ours. And then one last point too, and there was some mention of taking out the cul-de-sac at the end of Cottonwood. I hope that's a non-starter. I don't know how that was brought up, but that's a public street. I don't know how that has any bearing on the lot sale or the development. So, especially with, again, the bikers, and we have trucks that use that to turn around, not our trucks, but we see people using that to turn around. The design was put in, again, 25 years ago, so I think that should stick. Other than that, that really covers our bases, I think, on that.
And I just
Perfect.
want, yeah.
Right at 3 minutes.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Julia, go ahead.
Can you put on the screen a map so where we can see the road they're talking and what we are planning to do?
Yeah, I think Chad might be pulling up right now. We can share it in a minute. And Bill, I don't know if you want to speak to that. I know we talked a little bit at Plan Commission about stormwater and, kind of made it pretty clear to staff, but the Plan Commission anyway, about how important it is to solve those issues when we do anything with those roads. And then we did talk about the flag lot, and it's in the Plan Commission's estimation, it wasn't a traditional flag lot, which you would want to avoid because of the situation right there with General Beverage, taking that over. There was not a concern by staff about it being a flag lot, but could you speak to some of the other things, Bill?
Thank you. I was provided the email that you had sent over, Deb, and, took a look at the area. I was out there yesterday. And I do agree that stormwater is an issue. I think right now that lot that's being proposed, Lot 2 area, is pretty much an island, totally surrounded by water. And water has to pond quite a bit before it overflows to go south to get to Goose Lake. So I think we do have to look at that in a little more detail, because if we're filling in those areas, that water is just going to pond more quickly and more frequently. And if it doesn't have a proper outflow, it is something that we have to consider, along the path, the Military Ridge path, there's how we're going to get that water out of there to flow better. It's very flat. It's going to be difficult to do it, but it is a concern that I saw out there, that there's standing water. It's basically a lake and a moat around this area. And it's something we have to look at in a lot more detail, that further, as the review continues with development. That's what I have on the stormwater. Is we're going to need more information and satisfy that condition, that we're not creating, maybe we can solve a problem and definitely not create a worse one.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Is it Dave and then Julia?
Well, just a comment, they've been a really good neighbor, since they moved there. They contributed to the cost of the bridge, so their business could be more visible. They've been a good neighbor, and I don't want to see their property harmed, and so I think we should consider what they're asking.
I don't have screen share, but if you click on if you're on the agenda, and then click the supporting documents, and then go down to page 21 out of 29, starts to show these maps.
Here, but
Sure. So probably the best map to kind of show what the illustration is on page 24. Where you can see the first IG towards the top of that map in the purple is the proposed 7-acre lot, and then the other property down, the rest of the purple is the remaining portion of the property that would continue as asphalt plant and quarry operations.
Oh,
Did you
get
get
it up now? Thank you.
Perfect. Somebody pulled it up. I don't have screen share ability currently.
So the purple lot at the top is the 7-acre lot that they plan to sell to General Beverage.
Okay. And where is the road?
I believe on the east side of that, on the right side of that.
Bill, could you confirm that the driveway that Payne and Dolan currently uses, is that the portion that basically covers that right there? Yep. Is that the existing drive currently?
Oh, okay. So that one is the road that they mentioned is kind of private now. And then it's going to be open to the public.
Eventually.
If they decide to develop the rest of it at some point in the future. But there's, from my understanding, there's no immediate plans.
But I assuming that the truck from General Beverage are going to use that road primarily, is it?
I can't speak to that for certain, but it's not part of their lot. That is exclusively, from my understanding, as it relates to this particular proposal, to maintain access to the Payne and Dolan operations that are remaining on the rest of the parcel, and that the General Beverage site would potentially have 2 driveways out onto Commerce Park Drive, which you can see in,
Where is Commerce Park?
or I'm sorry, Cottonwood,
Oh.
onto Cottonwood.
Okay, I cannot
Gabriella, I know you had a hand up.
Yeah. Are the two residents, when they spoke at Plan Commission, did the developers respond to any of those concerns, and do they have plans to respond to some of those concerns? Is that possible for them to incorporate those suggestions if they're able to?
Bill, do you want to speculate? I think so. I mean, I think that is a concern. That's something the city will also look at as well as we're developing, like Bill was talking about. You know, as they decide to do something with this land, the stormwater is going to be a big piece of that, and making sure that they're not making any problems worse. And that has to be part of the solution as they do something with this property.
But in terms of the road position and the driveways, like, I mean, it sounds like, is it possible to clarify for the residents that came to speak what is possibly could be included in the future of this project and what is like off the table? I assume they haven't gotten that answer, which is why they came to council, in addition to Plan Commission.
Bill, do you want to speak to that?
You don't have to answer right now. I just like feel like they should get an answer about what's possible.
Right.
Yeah, I can. Bill, Bill, you or your staff can make sure to continue to work. I mean, that's the big key. I think anything at this area, I think we need to work with the business owners in that area and make sure that we're not making anything worse and we're taking their concerns and feedback into consideration. Yeah, Julie.
This one is time sensitive, this project, that we need to approve it tonight.
I think and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but where we're at in the process is very similar to the subdivision you just approved earlier, that the answers to the questions that are being proposed would come further in the process. The development process has not cleared all of the approvals that are necessary. This is merely the first step in the entire process, and that more information will be required as they clear particular process steps. But Bill, feel free to confirm that that's an accurate statement.
Yeah, I think so. But I can't answer for, I need some confirmation from planning as well, because I know there's some concerns about, significantly changing a comprehensive development plan to from what the CSM or the future development would be. If we're going to, change a road and move it, 250 feet to the west, that would be significantly different than what is being shown in their comprehensive development plan. And whether or not they'd be able to accommodate that or want to accommodate that. So I think that there's a step that we'd have to confirm with planning that, if we're going to go down the route of changing a road location, staff would have to reanalyze that again. But if we're looking to pretty much keep the layout and address the stormwater issues, and we'd have to take into account the transportation issues like has been brought up, the cut through traffic, and whether or not, what impact we could do to mitigate that with this layout.
Gabriella, or no, sorry, Julie.
So my question is, is what Bill mentioned, all of that conditional thing that they need to happen or improve. So why we are voting this tonight? Can we delay this until we have more clear, we have clear answer to our question, or what I mean? Because, So this is what I asked. This is time sensitive that we need. One is General Beverage is planning to do this expansion. Is going to start this year, next year, or So this is my question: is if we can. If we have there are so many unknown that, that the city is still working, so, I don't know.
Kim, you want to answer?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the flag lot was proposed to maintain access to the Payne and Dolan quarry. They don't have intentions of developing that parcel. But in order to meet the ordinance of the CDP, we needed to show that that lot could be developed, could be served. So Payne and Nolan doesn't have an interest in this time at building that road. That was per the request of planning, just to show accessibility for public utilities and public right-of-way in the future.
In case at some point they do, there's no intentions at this point in time.
Right.
You know, who
They're
knows?
looking to maintain their current operations and provide land to General Beverage that they asked for.
This is a time sensitive, when this is planning to happen, this year or next year, you know what I mean? So, because Bill has there are a lot of things that the cities are still working, so I want to be sure that, you know, we have some answer at all these questions, that we don't have a clear answer right now.
Right.
But this is what I am asking, is something that,
I don't know the exact schedule. I know that the sale of the land is dependent on the approval of the CDP. And I believe they're looking for construction next year, next spring, for
Yeah.
phase one.
And I don't know with the sale, if they want it done this year and what timing is and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, there could be, I don't want to speculate on if that is the case or not, so.
Right, I don't know for sure, but
Jay?
Go back to something that was mentioned earlier in regard to the cul-de-sac, because it doesn't say anything in here about the cul-de-sac disappearing. Is that the intention?
that was not our intention or General Beverage's intention. Public Works had mentioned it in their review as something they would consider. They would vacate the cul-de-sac and have Cottonwood turn south if and when that public road is built. That wasn't anything that we were asking for.
So
We're
Cotton-
fine with the cul-de-sac as.
So Cottonwood would stop, or the road would stop where the flag lot comes up essentially, instead of extending. But that's, okay, Jay?
So going along with that, the other concern that I have is General Beverage uses a lot of trucks. And if they're going to be connecting from their current site to this new warehouse, that means there's going to be a lot of trucks moving across the Military Ridge bike path. And I wonder what our plan is for safety at that intersection. Because right now, I mean, I've driven down there. My office used to be not too far from there, and I've been in that cul-de-sac. There's not a lot of trucks that go through into the General Beverage lot. So I guess that would be a question that I would like to have answered, is what's the interaction between bicycles on that bike path? Because it's a busy bike path. It's one of the busiest ones in the county, and the trucks that could potentially be crossing there.
Yeah, Bill, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me that is certainly a huge concern. We want to make sure that it's safe for everyone. I feel like that's like when they go to actually develop and they want to build a warehouse, that's kind of that piece is there, because I think that's a big concern. Is there traffic back and forth? How does that interact with the bike path? But I feel like that's probably that step where they're coming in saying, okay, we're ready. This is what we want to do with this extra land, versus right now they're dividing lots so they can sell it, but then there's further steps. But I don't know if Bill, you want to speak to that or not. I don't know if I have that right or not.
Yeah, I think that is something we're gonna have to detail out. I know that there's concerns that's been brought up by, the bike community and people that use the path about safety and trucks stopping and people flying through the path area. So we have had discussion with General Beverage and how they access the site. And it's something that we're gonna have to look at with a little bit more improvements out there, whether it be lighting and we'll have to look at that in more detail.
Yeah, this is just the lot division. So all things that are certainly very important, but not generally what we solve at the lot division at this point. Other questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, then, sorry.
No, that's all I get to say? Okay.
All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
Request a roll call.
All right, would like a roll call. Sorry, Tracy. I can delay for you once you're ready. Okay.
We're good. Alder Allen,
No.
Alder Radafrada,
I will pass.
Alder Gerhart,
Abstain.
Alder Herbst,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado,
We didn't hear you, Joel. No, we still couldn't hear you. I'm not sure what's going on.
he's saying,
Yeah, give a thumb up or thumb down maybe, or middle if it's abstain, I don't know. Or put it in the chat. Abstain? Abstains, okay.
Alder Strassman,
Aye.
Alder Udell,
Aye.
Alder Wheeler,
Aye.
Alder Rada.
Julie,
No,
was that no? I think that was a no. Your mic was a little bit off. Sorry, we couldn't hear you.
No, I need more information.
so we have 4 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 abstain.
So it passes. All
Could I
right.
make a comment just before we move on?
What's that?
Could I make just a quick comment? before we
Sure.
move on? Just to the Payne and Dolan staffer that's there, if it's possible to do a neighborhood meeting, it sounds like maybe that would be useful for the people in that area that want to express their concerns. Just something, food for thought. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, number 3, before we do a motion, Chad, do you want to speak to, I think there's a procedural issue with this, and this actually should not have come to the council, but I know that you got some information from Valerie on this.
Yes, that is the case. Thank you, Mayor Richardson. So this action was denied at the Plan Commission, and according to our ordinances, Plan Commission actually has the authority on either the approval or denial, and then our ordinance allows for an appeal process if there is a denial to the city council. So at this point in time, what our city attorney is recommending is that this matter be re-referred back to the Plan Commission. Currently, city staff is taking a look at more of the engineering design components related to this project, specifically the fact that if the pole were to collapse or be toppled by wind, what assertion the developer or engineering firm is making is that there would be basically no fall zone. It will fall on itself. And we're just seeking an outside engineering opinion to confirm, based upon the information that the city is requesting from the developer or engineering firm, whether or not that truly is the case. So we would anticipate that information will be available for the November 16th, I think is the date for the Plan Commission. If not, we'll certainly update the Plan Commission at that point in time that the information has not been able to be vetted by an outside engineering firm.
So recommendation is to re-refer to Plan Commission.
Correct. That is the recommendation from the city attorney.
All right, Randy, you want to make that motion? Oh, all right, Julia's making the motion apparently.
I'll second.
All right, Randy will second. Comments, questions, Jay?
I would have joined the meeting by Zoom tonight, except that this item was on the agenda, and I had a large amount of venting to do about this, which I'm going to do right now. So back in 2009, I wrote our telecommunications ordinance, which since then, the brilliant brain surgeons in our legislature have decided to invalidate through various means. And basically it comes down to these companies, these telecommunication companies, spending a crap ton of money lobbying our legislators to take local control away from municipalities and thus we end up with this situation we have today. Now, one of the things that was invalidated was our ordinance said that this type of tower shall not be placed in a residential zoning district. I wrote that. I wrote those words, put them into an ordinance, and the state invalidated that. Now, the applicant has pointed out that this particular parcel is an RD parcel. So those of you who have been around a while would know that an RD parcel is a rural development parcel. We do not zone anything as RD anymore, ever. And it is the city's intention, according to our comprehensive plan, to eliminate all RD parcels from the city and have them zoned as something else as development occurs. This is one RD parcel that happens to be in the middle of every other parcel in that neighborhood, which is residential low density. It is a residential zoning district, even though this particular parcel is not zoned that way. While this is, now, so, I mean, that's one of the points that I want to vent about. There are other points that were invalidated by the state statute that I could go on for the next half hour about, and I'm sure you would all love to hear all about that, but I'm not going to do that right now. What I do want to ask, and I know, Mr. Mayor, you aren't going to know the answer to this, but whenever this comes back, whenever this goes to Plan Commission, I want the answer to be known. According to the applicant's information here, in 2017, the city sent them a letter and said that this could not be located in McKee Farms Park. I would like a copy of that letter, and I tried to get it from our zoning administrator, who has not gotten back to me since she's departing. But I would like to know who wrote that letter. I would like a copy of that letter, and I would like to know why this isn't being located, because even our ordinance, our very own telecommunications ordinance that I wrote, says that we would prefer these facilities be put in city-owned property. So if we can have that information, that would be lovely. Yep. I'm done now.
Hey, thank you. Sir, I don't know who you are. You didn't.
Sometimes I don't know who I am either. My name is Michael Long. I'm a lawyer for the applicant, Central States Tower, Verizon, and Dish.
Okay, so here for answering questions or anything like that?
Yes, I came to be a resource this evening.
Okay.
In the event that anyone on the council had a question.
Okay, yeah, before you leave, there's a half sheets in the back, if you could fill that out. You don't
Sure.
have to go right this second, but
Okay.
you can do that in the future. All right, other questions? We have a motion to refer back to Plan Commission on the floor. Any other questions or anything like that? Seeing none, then all in favor of referring back to Plan Commission, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is referred back to Plan Commission. All right, moving along to Public Works. Dave.
Move approval of Resolution R 15921, approving a subdivision improvement agreement in Fitchburg townhouses for public improvements along Notre Dame Drive. This was postponed from September 28th, 2021 to get a few loose ends tied up.
Second.
Seconded by Jay, and did Public Works approve?
Public Works did approve.
All right, and do you want to speak to this, or would you like?
I'll speak to it. The Bill and the department, they had quite a few, I don't want to say hoops to jump through, but they have several issues they wanted to get resolved with the developer. And it took them a while, but they worked through them. The one remaining, there is an easement, electric easement kind of through the property that will need to be moved before we accept the public improvements on this property. So you don't see that right now. You know, we will not accept it unless that's done, and that was one of the sticking points. Bill, I'm not sure if there's anything else. This is kind of Lacey and Fahey Glen, and that intersection. Now, if you have anything else to add, Bill?
Nothing, all right.
All right.
Questions, comments from council? All right, seeing nothing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. Next one, Dave.
Resolution R1, approval Resolution R 19221, approving a relocation order and TPP related to construction of Lacey Road from Fitchburg Road to the Badger State Trails.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did TTC approve?
Yes.
Did Plan Commission approve?
Yes.
Did Finance approve?
Yes.
All right, and what's this one, Dave?
I think everybody's pretty familiar with this right-of-way or easement acquisition required to build the road as currently configured.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Comments? Julia?
How much is the budget for this? For, to buy easement?
Andrew, do you know? Budget?
Oh, sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, do you know a budget for acquiring the lands? Do you have like a rough dollar amount?
We don't yet. We will likely, so basically, well, that's really the next step in terms of our appraiser will estimate both the nominal parcels and the appraised parcels, and then we'll have a pretty good understanding of what that will be.
So my question is, so it went to Finance Committee and there is no an amount, so how, so what is the logic behind going to Finance?
I'm not sure what
Okay.
Finance discussed. Randy, do you want to speak to that?
I do not know. Maybe Misty can direct that, answer that
Do you
question.
mind with us?
So there is a financial component. We don't necessarily know what that amount is. So that's why we referred it to them.
What? Can you repeat?
So there is a finance cost to doing this. And granted, Andrew doesn't know the exact amount yet, but there is a cost. So that's why we took it to finance.
Okay, but it would be nice to see the number.
Jed?
Well, at some point in time, it'll come back to finance
Okay.
once the negotiations have gone through with whatever the
Okay.
cost might be associated with
Okay.
it. So I think this was a heads up to go ahead and proceed with this.
Kind of a proactive that, more to come, but this is what we're working on. All right. Sure.
So, so the idea is to have an idea how much is gonna be the room to negotiate with, because what happened is some homeowner asked for a very, irrational amount, So,
Yeah, we have a process for that. We ran into this in Fish Hatchery Road. There was, I
Okay.
believe, 3 out of a lot of people, property owners, and so we ended up doing appraisals, and they
Okay.
could do their own appraisal if they don't like ours, and so there's a process for that we've gone through. Yeah. Dave?
I'd just like to add, I hope Payne and Dolan isn't being unreasonable in the easement requests from them, given that we approved a subdivision improvement, or subdivision for them south of Lacey Road. I hope they are being reasonable here, because they are gaining quite a bit, that's all.
All right. Anyone else? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay?
Nay.
Nay from Dave. Any abstentions? All right, that is approved. All right, next one.
19421, authorizing approval of Second Amendment to the fiber license agreement with Supranet Communications.
Second.
Sent by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
We did.
Did Finance approve?
Finance approved.
All right, what's this one, Dave?
We have an existing agreement with Supranet on a different portion of Fish Hatchery Road, and it deals with a conduit that we have installed that they are putting fiber in that we are getting some use over, and it details who is responsible for repair and different things in the related to damage to the conduit or damage to the fiber, and it's identical to another, a similar one I think we approved last year. So we feel this is very advantageous to the city.
Is it, last year was the first half of Fish Hatchery Road?
That is
and this
correct.
is the
That's
second
correct,
half,
Aaron.
so it's mirroring the construction?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next one.
Next, I move approval of R 19521, authorizing intersection of Lacey Road and Seminole Highway to be controlled by a roundabout.
Second.
Signed by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did TTC approve?
Yes, we did.
All right, and you want to speak to this one, Dave, or you want to send it over to Andrew or Bill?
I'll have Andrew speak to this.
All right, Andrew, you are up.
Hey.
Yeah, you want to speak to
Yeah,
what this is?
This is a little bit of a repeat. We previously brought 119-21 to you a little bit earlier in the year, and that was a combination of both the design and the traffic control for this intersection. At the request of council, we did go back and had a second public meeting just to discuss, get in front of folks that live out there, just to make sure that we've heard all the pros and cons specifically about this intersection and the West Lacey project. We got 12 responses back. They were very consistent about, generally in favor of a roundabout here. And I can certainly, walk through the pros and cons a little bit if you like to, but otherwise I'm definitely free to just take questions.
Yeah, if you could just talk a little bit about it, because I think the first time we saw it, it was pretty much a horse apiece. And if you want to speak to why this is a recommendation, I think that'd be good for the public.
Yeah, sure. It really came down, we did have three options, and Always Stop was one possibility. But just based upon the traffic operations not really working to the future, that was not carried forward. And so really the two options are traffic signal and roundabout. Both operate favorably in future conditions. And so really this came down to some of the pros and cons of roundabouts versus signals just generally. And in this particular case, we were talking about kind of traffic calming, slower speeds adjacent to a regional trail, lower broadside crashes, versus some of the benefits of a signal would be more comfortable crossings, a signal phase for folks. And I can certainly, I have, a lot of information about, all the design details. If you'd like me to share my screen. Okay. And so really, can you guys see that okay?
See it all right. Yeah.
Okay. Basically, here are the two options. We'd be looking at similar costs, although the traffic signal will be slightly higher, mainly just to the equipment. But I will note that they are slightly different in terms of footprint. So operationally, they both will work in future conditions with 2041 volumes, whereas the Always Stop would not. It fails overall service D. Just to give you kind of frame of reference, here's the intersection queuing. I did just want to throw in Nesbitt and Fitchburg here, just for kind of point of reference. So we have significantly less queuing, although it definitely backs up in the AM peak during the school rush hour. And we did some sensitivity analysis just to see kind of what future conditions could hold. And so here are really the pros and cons. On the roundabout side, I'm not sure why. Oh, interesting. Okay. On the roundabout side, lower cost on the signal. Bicyclists and pedestrians can cross one direction at a time. Using these splitter islands, and then certainly that safety benefit that I talked about. On the cons, for folks who are younger age kids who are uncomfortable kind of navigating bicycle pedestrian conflicts or pedestrian conflicts, or for the visually impaired, definitely those crossings are a lot more uncomfortable and difficult to navigate. And then there is no emergency vehicle prioritization like there is with the signal. Whereas the signal, you do have, it is higher cost, unfortunately, and it's potentially a longer wait for bikes and pedestrians. But there is that more comfortable signal phase, and there's some higher spare capacity in future conditions.
And can I just clarify, did you say that there is a slight difference in impervious surface, or is it about the same? And the reason I ask is just because I know that there's some flooding issues in this area.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. So I was mainly talking about the functional area in terms of kind of upstream legs that we're carrying possibly the signal further upstream in order to incorporate those left turn bays. In terms of the actual intersection footprint, we'd likely be looking at the roundabout being bigger, actually directly at the intersection, depending upon what the left turns ended up being. We didn't do a direct impervious cost calc on it, but it could be somewhat similar if we use 250-foot left turn bays.
Okay, great. Jay?
Andrew, is this gonna all fit within the existing right-of-way, or will we need to acquire some more?
That's a great point. So based upon our preliminary design, we would be acquiring right-of-way on 3 of the 4 corners for the roundabout option. That would also likely be true with the signal option, a kind of different functional footprint, right? The roundabout would be requiring right-of-way directly at the intersection, right? Like that we have plenty on the northeast corner, but the other 3 corners would be impacted. Whereas in the other option, with this traffic signal, you'd be looking at extending those left turn bays further upstream of the intersection, and therefore slightly encroaching on right-of-way for a longer area upstream. So again, probably likely similar, although I have a little bit more information about the roundabout.
Randy?
So in both scenarios, Andrew, you'll be acquiring additional right-of-way?
That would be my current estimate. Basically, what we had scoped out in the alternative study that's on the website is somewhat similar right-of-way takes in terms of, let's pull that up. All right, so here is the updated estimate. So for traffic signals, we had assumed, so this does give you kind of a sense, just kind of high-level sense of a 1/4 acre for new water quality, and then some temporary easements. And then for the roundabout, we assumed a slightly larger area, I believe. Yes. So you can see that basically the roundabout takes a slightly larger area for that that water basin that we would be in, so that would be both fee from the new water quality basin and the right-of-way just needed for the actual footprint. So you can see 0.98 versus 0.76.
Well,
So
it's not a significant difference. I was just curious if, I was going to ask the next question as far as the timeline, as far acquiring the easement. I mean, are we looking at a month? Are we looking at 3 months? I mean, that could push a project out as well. So that's why I asked one versus the other.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, they're relatively small fee areas, and unfortunately, just working through, I mean, working through the design a little bit more. So we would basically be looking at getting final design just because it's one intersection. We can hurry up to 60% by December and then get that transportation project plat, like the rest of West Lacey, started in the process at that time.
Okay.
And so I don't anticipate it being delayed versus the rest of the West Lacey project.
Okay, good. Thank you. You've answered my questions.
Sure. Anyone else? Julia.
So I want to mention that I am in favor of roundabout. I think there are safer option. So I'm gonna vote yes for this.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I believe. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Opposed, nay? All right, that is approved. Next one.
I'll move approval Resolution R 19621, authorizing intersection of East Sherrill and South Sine Road by, be controlled by a protected intersection.
Second.
Sent by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works did not approve.
They did not. Did TTC approve?
Yes.
They did. All right. Dave, do you want to speak to what it is, and then you can speak to Public Works concern?
I'll speak to it. So at this intersection, three options were kind of evaluated. One was a roundabout, one was a standard signalized intersection, which we're fairly familiar with, and then the third was this controlled, protected intersection, which provides the benefit easier for residents to cross and bicyclists to go through and turn. Staff recommended the protected intersection. It comes at a considerably higher cost. So I'll stop there. I'll have some comment after other members speak here.
All right. Other people, Julia?
I would like to ask you a question today. Dave, have you considered, did you discuss the roundabout in that area?
They evaluated the roundabout and did not feel that was a good option for that location with the amount of, they think there'll be higher pedestrian crossing from the quick trip across, and their evaluation, I agree with it, didn't match with the roundabout at that location.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the cost of this, for the protected intersection as opposed to the traffic signal. And it's 1.1 million to 1.5 million for protected. And when I was talking to a person that deals with this, it could go as high as 1.6 million. And just with the higher snow maintenance costs, that's a lot of money for that. And with the lowest cost with just the traffic signal at 1.03 million, it says there's a possibility to add leading pedestrian intervals and right turn regulation. And why wouldn't we just try to go with that option? And, the other thing is sometimes when we do these things, what I'm missing is the data. And it's good to have these things, and it's good to look at other countries, what they do, other cities. But one thing I noticed when you look at these things, there's some data there, and there's some benchmarks of like, we're trying to reduce whatever X, and I don't see that here, and I'm wondering, like, we have another, there's going to be a signal intersection back on Lacey in Syene. So why not that intersection, but this intersection? So those are my concerns.
Okay. I have Randy and then Jay after that.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about the price difference on the two. I'm curious as to the benefits as well. What benefits do we receive out of over the protected intersection versus the standard traffic light? I don't know. Maybe Andrew can answer that question.
Yeah, that's a good. Let Andrew address that.
Andrew, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. So I think this is a tough concept, I think. So I'd like to maybe show just a quick video because I think that's sometimes helpful. And so I'll just kind of describe what's going on. So in this protected intersection for cyclists going left, right, or through, it really just improves the visibility by using this kind of small teardrop island that I'll show here. Basically, that's really the only added feature in this case. And so we'd be improving the visibility of cyclists and pedestrians adjacent to them by setting them offset. And the second thing that this right turn island does is it allows a place for right turning vehicles to get out of through vehicle traffic. In this case, there's a right turn bay, but even if there wasn't, it would get out of the way, and then tee up to pedestrians and cyclists at a slower speed than what a traditional signal would do. So really, the big benefit here is just we're improving visibility, slowing turns, and creating more comfortable bicycle and pedestrian crossings, specifically for right turning vehicles, but there is some improvements for left turning and through vehicles as well. And so that's really the kind of added benefit in this case versus the traditional signal. Right. And I will note that to Jim's point, that really we're looking at protecting intersection here because there are adjacent cycle tracks, which are usually, you know, kind of consistent with this approach that we'd be putting cyclists against the curb. And so we have cycle tracks to the east of here that we'd be consistent. Really, this would be probably one of the only places we'd look at an intersection type like this, just because of that existing infrastructure and the shared use path on the west side.
Jay, go ahead.
Part of what's happening here goes back a long way when the decision was made about building the interchange on Highway 14. And originally, the city's position was we wanted the interchange built at Lacey Road, where the bridge goes over Highway 14. But the DOT was not going to have any of that for whatever reason, so we had to move the intersection south. They then insisted that we call it Lacey Road instead of Sherrill Drive, despite the fact that it's the Sherrill Drive interchange. They made us rename Lacey Road. They made us do all that weird sweep curve over there that wasn't part of this. So this is the type of intersection that we had originally envisioned at Lacey Road and Sayin Road. But because of the way the DOT forced this through, this has moved north. So Lacey and Sayin isn't going to have anywhere near the traffic volume or the conflicts that this intersection is going to have, especially after the Quick Trip is built and as more of the development happens a little bit further to the east. So, and even as you know, whatever Bill Linton's going to do with the property that he has over here, that's going to add more pressure on that intersection as well. So I think, especially with several of the buildings being built much closer to the road than we have built them in other places, the need for the visibility as you bump the bike track out a little bit further from, so that there's just, you can see what's going on around the intersection. So I do think the protected intersection, and I agree with Andrew, there aren't going to really be many other intersections in the city that are going to need this kind of configuration. But that bike trail is pretty busy right now. I live in the building that's right on the corner there, and I sometimes, it's kind of, especially on a busy Saturday, it's kind of like dodge the bicycles as you're trying to get out of the parking lot. So it's a very busy intersection as it is with just the cars that go through, because sometimes they start backing up on Sherrill Drive either direction. And my default position on this kind of intersection is to go at the roundabout, but I think with a roundabout at this intersection, it's just going to be too much. So I do support this protected intersection. I think this is the right way to go.
Andrew, I believe someone told me that there's not another one of these in the state, and there might not be another one in the country, actually. So this is a pretty new, unique thing, at least for here. In other countries, this is something they have, but it's unique here, right?
I don't know of another one in Wisconsin. I know of 15 to 20 around the country, mainly in larger cities, where they have, kind of existing infrastructures, protected bike lanes and cycle tracks leading into intersections.
Are there any challenges to clearing out those bike tracks when they're filled up with snow and plowing them out?
Yeah, certainly. And I think that's probably another feature of why we would only consider something like this adjacent to a shared use path, that, Parks is clearing this. And so we're going to be very, we're definitely going to monitor the width between the teardrop island and the adjacent curb, make sure that's a consistent 9-foot width so that they can take, few passes to kind of circle around and clear that. But despite that, it's still going to be more maintenance along that route. So,
Dave, did you have more feedback?
No, I think everyone's kind of beat it up here.
Julia?
So no, I want to mention that I know that some people are concerned with the cost, but also we need to talk about the safety and safety of our, bicycles, and safety about the people that live there, and they're gonna be more traffic about with the Quick Trip, store, and the development coming to the east side. Sain. So, and because I grew up in another part of the world where roundabouts and this type of intersection are pretty common. So, so I am in favor of this, and I think that I know that it's slightly higher, the cost, but I want to put safety first.
All right. I heard some people say they want something possibly different. I don't know if that means you want to do an amendment or not, but right now we do have the protected intersection as the motion, so I don't have anyone else that wants to speak at this point. All right. Seeing no one else, then we can vote, and so we are approving the protected intersection is what's on the table. And should we just do roll call? I'm not really sure what it's going to be yet. Sorry.
Alder Allen? Aye. Alder Radafrada?
Aye.
Alder Gerhart?
Pass.
Alder Herbst?
Nay.
Alder Maldonado? Looks like you said aye.
Give thumbs up. I think that was an aye. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Alder Strassman?
We couldn't hear you. Sorry.
No.
No, okay.
Alder Udell?
No.
Alder Wheeler?
No.
Alder Gerhart? Go back to Gerhart.
Aye.
You have a tie.
Thanks.
You wanted to do it.
All right, I wasn't expecting that. I don't want to do a roll call anymore. I'd say a no on the protected intersection.
Then I would like to make a motion to amend this.
Well, now you do, I do a new motion because it just
Okay.
failed.
All right. So this did not pass, and so,
Did not.
okay, so what's the step here I'd like to make?
So someone should have done an amendment as well, but,
Okay.
yeah, but I don't think
All
we
right.
can do another motion tonight.
All right, sounds good.
Unless can you vote to reconsider, actually, or move to reconsider?
We may want to do that, only
Yeah.
because I think there's some timing considerations related to this and the design phase of East Sherrill, of Sion Road and construction for next year. So if you need me to reach out to
I
somebody.
believe that we can move to reconsider, if someone wants to do that.
I moved to reconsider resolution R-196-21.
Is there a
Second.
Seconded by Jim. I believe we first have to approve that we're going to reconsider it, and then we can talk about the resolution again. So all in favor of reconsidering resolution R-196-21, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. And so I believe it comes back as the same same motion or the same resolution. But, oh geez, this is really getting into Robert's Rules of Order here. I think probably for reconsidering, I believe it's the same motion, but now it can be amended. Well, except there's not a motion on the table, so someone would have to, I guess, make a motion to approve it.
About this?
I know that you can reconsider. I know
I see.
that. Now it's just a case of, I believe, we'll see if Valerie is available. I know you can reconsider it. Now it's just a case of, I think because you reconsider it, it might just be back to the motion that we just voted on, but I'm not positive if we have to vote on that.
Well, it's going to need a motion one way or the other.
Right.
Right, motion to rescind and amend something previously adopted.
Well, that's not what this is.
Right.
Yeah, this is, what's going to have to happen is there's going to have to be a motion for whatever's on the agenda. Since we could do it, we could change the motion if we were doing
Amend
it,
it.
this is the next successive meeting. But because we're doing it within the same meeting, it's going to have to be the same thing, and then it can be.
I think it's a motion for this and then amend it from there. So Dave, if you want to move this and then we'll amend it from there.
Move an amendment or move?
Move to approve
Yeah, okay.
as it is on the agenda.
Okay. Move approval of resolution R-196-21.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. All right, now would you like to do an amendment, Dave?
I'd like to propose an amendment to change, to read authorizing intersection of East Sherrill and South Siding Road to be controlled by a signalized intersection.
Seconded by Randy. Any further discussion? All right, then let's do a roll call on this is just to amend. And so this is amending it to a controlled intersection instead of protected.
So, can I ask a question? So,
yeah.
we are voting for so you're proposing the signal only?
So this is, so it's an amendment to change it to the signalized intersection. Once that amendment's passed, we'll have to vote on it again as like the main motion, but this is the amending the motion to a regular signalized intersection instead of this protected one that was proposed originally.
Well,
Yeah.
So what is your main reason to approve it this, to propose this?
One is cost, and second, I believe a signalized intersection will provide a safe conveyance based on what Jim mentioned before. We can, with the timing of the lights and things, we can achieve, I think, fairly close safety at a considerably reduced cost.
But, can I make a comment?
You can make a comment, yeah.
We are talking about $400,000 difference, and we're talking about safety. So, and I don't understand why, some of you don't see the value of having this protected intersection. So when we have this area is going to be increasingly, it's going to be increasing population, traffic. We have a lot of bicycle going there. So, so I know that we need to vote for something, but I think this, I don't understand why we cannot look. We are approving an intersection for the next 20 years, not for tomorrow or for next year. So I think we need to consider that, sure.
Andrew, I just had one quick question. I believe that the engineering firm that we're working with recommended this signalized intersection. Is that true, that was their preference?
In the design report, we hadn't considered a protected intersection. That was something that had kind of come about in some of our small group meetings. We held 9 small group meetings. And I think one of the concerns there was just, making sure that kids can walk to, the Quick Trip or whatever goes in there. And so I think that was really, just coming up with additional options. So they didn't recommend a protected intersection because that wasn't one of the alternatives considered at the time.
Jim?
And I understand safety, but, you look at other areas, like you look at Madison around campus. You talk about cars and people intermingling, go to campus when they're changing classes. And you really don't hear all these accidents happening. Now, you want to talk about protected intersections. It should be a lot of them along University Avenue. So my frame of reference is, the why. Where's the data that shows that this is going to be safer than the traffic signal? I don't think it's there.
Joe, did you have your hand raised? Or was just, okay, all right. I got Jay and then Gabrielle after that. Go ahead, Jay.
Using University Avenue as an example, that has a protected bike lane. So in a way, that's a good example of why this would be beneficial here.
Gabriella, go ahead.
I guess, if we can't have the protected intersection, I guess I just want to make the point that I don't think a roundabout is good here, although I generally think roundabouts are good. But I've been through that intersection. I go through there quite often, and it's a lot of pedestrian traffic, and it seems dangerous. I've also crossed roundabouts as a pedestrian, and I've had cars slow down in the roundabout when there's just one person crossing. Anyway, I think a roundabout's bad for this area. If we can't have the protected intersection, I think the signalized intersection is the right call. If we can't have that other version, which obviously it was a no just before now. So.
All right. Seeing no one else. Oh, Julie, can you? Oh, okay. We'll do roll call. This is the amendment. Oh, Jay, go
I
ahead.
just want to make one more comment. Like I said, I live in this building that is right at this intersection, and I go through this intersection between 4 and 5, maybe 6 times a day. And I think that with the addition of the Quick Trip on the corner, with the addition of all the additional housing that's going to be built between this intersection and Highway 14, which is probably in the area of another 2,500 units, plus all the other units that are supposed to be in the medium density area between here and Swan Creek, I think you've got thousands and thousands of more residents that are going to be coming into Fitchburg, and this intersection is an absolutely crucial intersection to getting those people either to their homes or to Highway 14 or to downtown, well, to Fish Hatchery Road anyway. So I just can't imagine. We're talking about a potential difference of, if we're looking at a 20-year lifespan, we're looking at a potential difference of $20,000 a year. And I mean, we throw away more money than that on the phone bill every month. So I think it's time to, we should be looking at doing something better here than what we've done in other places.
All right.
Oh my God, can we stop?
Dave and then Julia. Go ahead, Dave.
My comment. I'm a trained safety professional. You know, I analyze things. You know, I have quite a bit of experience at, and the fact that we don't think our residents can cross a street. My ancestors came to this country, the wilderness of Wisconsin, survived starvation, animals. You know. That our residents aren't capable of crossing the street. You know, the bicyclists, when you get on your bicycle, like I do every day, there's risks. You have to take them into account. And I think a signalized intersection, which we have many all over the city, they're safe. I feel this is the best decision.
Julia?
Yes, can I ask a question to Andrew and Bill? So you are the expert here. What do you think is the best option for the city?
You know, I recommended a protected intersection because, you know, that was really the preferred option out of the 3 in our small group meetings for the reasons we talked about. I will note, you know, there are options, as I noted, that we can do, you know, more friendly pedestrian signal timing. It won't be the same level of comfort, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of great data at this point. Most of the studies done have been you know, pretty small sample sizes or simulation, and so you know, this is a new technology, or you know, new to our context in the United States, and so unfortunately, I don't have great data for you yet of the new benefits, but we can certainly see the kind of concept of the improved visibility, improved comfort. So, you know, that was really what we worked through the small group, and so that's what I'm recommending.
Shannon, go ahead.
I just don't understand why we keep going back and forth about the protected intersection. We already voted it down. The only reason why we brought it back was so we could do an amendment. Can we just focus on the amendment here instead of going back and having further discussion on something that we already voted on?
All right, ready to do roll call? All right, this is on the amendment, so changing it to a signalized intersection instead of protected. Go ahead, Tracy.
Alder Allen?
No.
Alder Radafrada?
No.
Alder Gerhart?
Yes.
Alder Herbst? Alder Maldonado?
No.
Alder Strassman?
Yes.
Alder Udell?
Yes.
Alder Wheeler?
Yes.
5-3, motion
Alright.
carried.
All right, so we're on the now amended main motion. Anything additional? I think everyone knows what they're going to do at this point, but we'll make that option out there anyway. All right, so voting on the signalized intersection, kind of final chance here. Go ahead, Tracy.
Alder Allen?
No.
Alder Radafrada?
What we're voting?
This is the final motion, so it's a signalized intersection, because we amended it last time. Now we have to vote on the actual motion itself changed now.
Okay, no.
Alder Gerhart,
Yes.
Alder Herb,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado,
I'm sorry, point of information. If this gets struck down for whatever reason, what happens? I need clarification before I can make that vote.
If this fails, then either it fails and it doesn't, I don't know, I guess staff comes back.
Nothing
next
happens?
time. Well, staff would have to come back next time, or someone would have to reconsider it again.
Okay, I'll vote no.
Alder Strassman,
Yes.
Alder Udell,
Yes.
Alder Wheeler,
Yes.
5-3, motion carried.
All right, that passes. Moving along, one more for you, Dave.
Resolution R-19921, authorizing acceptance of 2021 Uptown Improvements Streetlights bid.
Second.
All right, signed by Jay. Did Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did Finance approve?
Yes, finance approved.
All right, what's it about, Dave?
Bill, why don't you speak to this?
All right, Bill.
As part of the Uptown plat, we are installing street lights along certain streets, Central Park Place, Green Market Drive, and East Sherrill Parkway. These costs are passed along to the developer and the adjacent property owners through assessments. And we did have one low bid that was submitted, and we're recommending approval of that for the installation of the streetlights.
All right. Questions or comments at all? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay? All right, so that is approved. Thank you, Dave, unless there's anything else you want to add. All right, Park Commission, Julia.
No report. Our next meeting is November 4th.
All right, Library Board.
We had a meeting last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, so I will have a more complete report at the next meeting. But I did want to mention that our library staff had to ban somebody today from the library for 1 year because of inappropriate behavior and some inappropriate emails that were sent to library staff. So what I mainly wanted to mention is the people who work in city staff and who work in the library and in any city department, these are, in every true sense of the word, public servants, and they should be treated respectfully. And if you are somebody who is using one of our facilities and you can't seem to manage that, then the city will take action to protect our employees and our staff and the other residents of the city who may be using those facilities also.
All right, thank you. Commissioner on Aging Noel.
From our meeting, sounds like our county contract may see an increase from $92,300 to $100,300. The county executive did add additional funding for both case management and nutrition, which these items streams down to each focal point. So this will come, that change will come before us in a resolution.
All right. RCC?
No report.
All right, how about TTC?
Yeah, I'll move approval of resolution R-19121, approving Fitchburg becoming a Tier B direct recipient of 85.20 transit operating assistance.
Second.
Seconded by Jay. Did TTC approve?
Yes.
Did Finance approve?
Yes.
And what's this about, Gabriella?
So right now we get the state funds public transportation system for municipalities. Right now we get our state funding as a pass through Madison Metro. Madison Metro applies for everybody and we get a chunk of that based on our service. Andrew did the calculations, and if we apply for the funding directly, we actually get a significant amount of money more. And in the end, it's actually good for everybody because Madison is a Tier A, and Tier A cities are kind of penalized for being at that higher level. Tier B cities like us actually get kind of a better deal. So applying for it is a good thing for the city. It's a good thing for the regional network, and it saves us money. And my personal opinion is I think it's a great move. So, and I know Andrew's here to answer any more specific questions. Oh, I guess, well, one more note. The one thing is that the staff time involved in sort of like administering this is the one downside. And my understanding is that the staff is comfortable taking it on. And there is some complexity that we'll have to discuss when we renew the Madison Metro contract, in terms of there's going to be an escrow account, and some of that, we basically pay our full amount and then we apply for our raw costs are higher as a city because we're getting the direct state funding. So the escrow account might have a slightly different considerations, but I think all things considered, we'll still come out ahead applying for this funding directly, which is why this is being brought forward by staff.
All right. Any questions, Al? Dave?
I just want to compliment Andrew for going through and digging through the details and coming up with this analysis.
All right. Jim?
I guess my question is for Andrew. This will give us the ability to be more flexible to meet the transportation needs of people in Fitchburg outside of using Madison Metro?
It's certainly, if in future decisions, either to complement or to replace Madison Metro, this funding mechanism would allow us to receive, direct operating assistance from WISDOT for whatever, either independent contractors or internal transit service we provide to our residents. So, yep, it would definitely provide more flexibility in the future.
Thanks.
All right. Julia?
Gabriela, is this will affect the relationship with Madison Metro in the future?
Nope. Madison Metro would encourages municipalities to apply for funding on their own if it's possible, if their staff can handle it. Madison Metro actually prefers it this way.
All right. Not seeing anyone else, so all in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay? All right, that passes. Anything else for TTC?
Yes, we actually had a pretty good conversation going more deeply into the changes, the votes that are coming forward about Madison Metro. As I mentioned before, this was the first one that we were voting on. The next one will probably be approving the transit service agreement with Madison Metro to continue the service that we have now. And then also the network redesign is coming. So approving those maps is forthcoming as well. There are changes to Fitchburg. If you would like to, it's not finalized yet, but if anyone is interested in learning more about that, feel free to set up a time with me or Andrew and we can walk you through what it looks like and get your feedback, because it's not finalized yet. It's still somewhat in flux, but it's approaching a finalized state. So, and I will try to send out that, intro to the generic transit agreement once we have that referred out at council, so that you can watch some of those more in-depth conversations with DTC to prepare for that council conversation. And that's all.
All right, thank you. Sita, not sure who's up this.
Our next meeting is December 9th.
All right, Ag and Rural Affairs, Randy.
Ag and Rural Affairs met last week. It was a short meeting. We discussed a conditional use permit for property down on 5735 Adams Road, which is Four Winds. And we also discussed the rural broadband. Nothing really new, nothing since I reported out last time. We're waiting on Wade Thompson to complete some of the survey mapping. He's been somewhat busy with redistricting, so he will turn his focus back into rural broadband, and hopefully we'll have some clearer maps in the near future. The next Ag and Rural Affairs meeting is January 18th, and then there is the annual listening session, which is scheduled for February 15th, if I have those dates correct. But that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. EMS.
I don't really have anything to share unless you do, Aaron. I know you were
I had the annual reports and went through kind of the crazy growth we've had this year in EMS. The first couple months were actually below, but ever since then, I think we're up at, well, we sent the report out, but I think we're at like 8% or something like that. Bless you, Gabriella. But I think that, just continued growth, continued great service for our community in great partnership with Verona. They did add an anti-idle technology on one of their ambulances, which I think is a pretty neat thing to do and to have. It's beneficial. Not beneficial is the way some people run their EMSs, where they're running all day on the corner, kind of, but still is beneficial and is helping the environment, and that's through a partnership with Epic that supported that. So I think it's a neat way of looking at ways to reduce the environmental impact of the fleet. All right, Bike Committee, Joe.
No updates. The next meeting is December 7th. I will say, however, that there have been 4 bike-related events right outside of the district in Madison, in front of Luna's. They've happened every Tuesday, including today of the month. And they've been pretty successful, well attended. I did request that the people organizing it keep data on where people that are signing up to get their bikes fixed live, and also reporting that data back to the bike committee on their path for gold status, just because one piece of that gold status is equity and access to bikes. So, you know, we've had a lot of different age groups of people attending, kids, young adults, older adults. So just capturing that information is going to be really important. There was also have been bike rodeos. So just getting the info of who's showing up, I think adds to the fact that, you know, Fitchburg residents are being served through different bike related events. So I will share that information with the bike committee once it's tabulated, and hopefully that helps us on our bike goal journey.
Yeah, I know that we're also getting some bike counters, which will help us in our application for gold status as well.
Yeah.
All right, Trade Advisory Committee.
So we had our meeting on October 14th. It was our last meeting for the year. Wade Thompson walked us through the park and open space plan update, in case any of the committee members wanted to comment on tree related items to that plan update. And then we talked for the rest of the meeting about the tree protection ordinance, which is moving forward. The newest draft is in the minutes for the tree advisory committee from this meeting. It's gone through, they've had discussions with our city attorney, the planning department. Fortunately, Sonia has been here to kind of give her last thoughts before she leaves. So quite a couple meetings with her. They recently met with the mayor, got his opinion on what he thought. So it's moving forward. We won't obviously have something finalized until next year, because this is the last meeting of the year, but it's still being worked on in a small group, the subgroup that for the tree advisory committee that's continuing to work on it. So hopefully we'll see that early next year. And that's all. Thanks.
All right, landmarks preservation.
We haven't met.
All right, housing advisory. All right, healthy neighborhoods.
I'm sorry. I gave the no report on the wrong thing.
Yeah, sorry.
I was getting carried away.
There are not any updates. The next meeting is December 13th.
All right, how about healthy neighborhoods?
I still have no report.
All right, good. And then redistricting committee, Randy.
Nothing since we met last, other than the November 2nd. November 2nd is a special council meeting to review, to discuss, and approve the new maps. And I think, Tracy, you sent out an email today, maybe, regarding the entire packet will be out on Thursday? Okay, so.
And that meeting is at 5:30?
5:30,
correct?
November 2nd, Monday.
At 5:30, please, not 7:30 next week.
Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, Tracy, anything you want to add?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
All right. All right, finance committee.
Okay, finance met this evening prior to council. Approval of bills, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 122613 through 122685 for the period of October 1st through the 15th, 2021, totaling $2,856,326.72. Next item, review of P-cards transactions for the cycle ending September 6, 2021. Total, $243,959.95. Moving on to 2A, resolution and ordinances. Motion to approve resolution R-200-21, authorizing the purchase of attorney services associated with America Multi-Cinema, AMC, versus City of Fitchburg for excessive tax assessment, case number 2021 CV 002248.
Is there a second? Seconded by Dave. And do you want to speak to this, Randy?
No, I would like Misty to speak to this particular resolution.
All right, Misty, go ahead.
Sure. So the city received a notice of suit against us by AMC for their assessment claim. We are proposing that we hire Attorney Seibel, who is the same attorney that has helped us with other similar suits recently and also helped us with our board of review process. This is really a niche that she's good at. So we'd like permission to engage her to help us with this process. Part of the property that's in question is within TID and part of it is outside of TID. So you can see there's the two separate lines on the pre-approval that shows the TID amount versus the non-TID amount.
All right. Any questions on this one? It's one of those where if we don't fight them, then everyone all of a sudden starts challenging it, so we have to unfortunately fight them, but we've been successful. Jay?
Well, we should fight them, and I just wanted to take a moment, since I was venting earlier, that if the Republican legislature would spend time dealing with a statute problem like this is a little loophole in the assessment statute. Instead of trying to deal with how municipalities regulate where transmission towers go, they might actually do something useful for the taxpayers of the state.
Agreed. All right. Seeing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 And opposed nay. All right, that's approved. Personnel? Nothing? All right, anything on public safety?
Nothing to report. Our meeting was canceled.
All right, my reports, let's see, a few things. First, yesterday we had the mayoral awards, and I just want to again congratulate the winners for that. And I know that we're going to be having a video up soon on Fact TV with that, if you'd like to check that out. Next Wednesday, November 3rd at 12:30, I am doing an update for the Fitchburg Chamber along with Chad and Mike Zimmerman. And so if you would like to attend that, it's online, so feel free to attend that as well. We've got seats open on a number of committees right now, including HNI, now that we changed the requirements of that. We have a few applications in, so I just need to contact people about a couple of those openings, but we do have some openings there. And then just wanted to confirm or verify that we will have both of our meetings in November. I know some people had asked that, but the second meeting in December, we will cancel that. That falls between Christmas and New Year's. I know that many of you might be gone, a lot of staff are gone, and so we will cancel that. We've done that in the past as well. So just want to make sure that you knew that we do have both November meetings, and actually a bonus one this year because of redistricting, but then in December, the second meeting will be canceled. So that is all I have, and so I believe.
Question,
Yeah.
Alder, or Mayor. How many H&I applications do you have, and how far back are you looking at? I know there was one that had come in but didn't get considered.
Yeah, I believe Lisa usually looks back a couple of years, and she hasn't printed them out for me. I need to find out what they are. So I know there is one or two out there. So I think that we already have at least one. I think there will be 2 openings with the newer requirements, and so I think there's at least one, like you said. I don't know if there's more than that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, Ajay.
Speaking of the redistricting, and I should have brought this up under Randy's, it would be nice if we had the new redistricting map on the front page of the city's website so that people can take a look before we vote on it next week. And I don't know, I haven't seen an updated version of the map since our last meeting. Did we Did we shade those two areas in that will be coming into Fitchburg from the town? Do we know?
Wade has been working on getting that update taken care of, so yes.
Well, then we should get it on the front page of the city's website as quickly as possible.
It is currently under the city clerk section. And it has been, all of the options that were considered have been out there for the last couple of weeks.
Well, it seems important enough that it should be a front page item.
Yeah, we don't really have a spot on our website, but I know we're going to do a refresh, and that might be a good thing to have as some kind of like a hot topic type of a thing on the front page. Joe, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was saying maybe some sort of a hyperlink that's listed prominently somewhere on the front page, to Jay's point that it should be, somewhat more visible and open once you get to Fitchburg City's website. I would agree with that proposal, that idea.
All right. All the reports, and we would start with District 4. Jim.
Yes, October 28th at the Hop House, there's going to be a neighborhood meeting at 6 o'clock for the Edgewood Wellness Center. And I'm already getting a few inquiries about that, basically people talking about traffic, stormwater, and, future development. So that should be a good neighborhood meeting. Also had a chance to meet with Chief Morales today. And I thought it was a good conversation. And one thing that we really connected on was President Obama's 21st century policing document, which talks about the 6 pillars of policing. And if I would ask my council members to actually take a look at that document. It is a good document. And I don't know, Mayor, what expectations you set for the chief, but I'm going to be looking at, even as a alder, as a citizen, looking at that document and seeing how well that Fitchburg really adheres to that document, because I think it's a really good document. So that's all.
Randy. Oh, yeah.
To us, because you know where it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Randy.
Just to follow up on the Edgewood Wellness Center, not only is it the 28th, Jim, correct? It's also the November 18th, the second meeting, or 2 presentations. I'm sure they're identical.
2 options, so
Yep.
Same thing, just 2 options for people.
Exactly.
Are they both at Hop House?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Joe.
So Alder Herbst and I met with Andrew McFadden as well as Chad, and it was a really good conversation. It was about traffic. We learned a lot. I learned a lot. I probably learned way more than Dave did. I'm sure he knows a lot of what was discussed, but we developed, I think, some future next steps, including simpler, more streamlined ways to communicate with residents when they have concerns about traffic, as well as learning about sort of the budgetary and process related issues when it comes to if somebody wants a speed bump, if somebody wants some sort of a sign in their neighborhood, if somebody wants some sort of traffic calming, measures, the way that, residents individually and also as a group can go about doing that. The second update that I have is that tomorrow I will be interviewing somebody for the next episode of D1 All Stars. It will be Nate Hobart, who is the pastor at Redeemer City Church. I don't know if I mentioned it in the Alder report before, but last month I interviewed David Smith from Door Creek Church, who lives in the Jamestown neighborhood. So if anybody wants to see past episodes of the show, they can go to the Fact TV website and just look up D1 All Stars. It's also on our the Fact TV YouTube channel. So it's always fun interviewing residents of the neighborhood and just kind of hearing the special, interesting people that live around here.
All right, Dave.
I want to thank Alder Maldonado for sitting in with us. We talk about the traffic. I won't have much more to say. Thank you, city staff. It was a very, very good meeting. Appreciation to the fire department for the community night out held at Little John's last week. We got to watch a car get cut apart with their battery-operated tools. And it was a nice, a little small house for the children, pretend they were putting out a fire. They actually got to use fire hoses. So thanks to the fire department for putting that on. This Sunday, we're officially shutting down our community garden. We're gonna till it up and put it away for the year. Let's see, Thursday night, if it's not raining, I'll be walking around the Jamestown neighborhood with Chief Morales, introducing him to neighbors. And we'll be scheduling, I'll talk to Joe, we'll schedule other parts of the city to do the same. He's very interested in getting out and meeting as many of the public as he can. If you happen to look at, in the next door, I have a profile of Playcon that I've been issuing, or about every month I'm doing a business profile, and Chad and the mayor and Randy and a few of others, we toured Playcon about a month ago. And so if you look on Nextdoor, you'll see the profile I had for that. Next month, I'm planning to visit New Fountains, and the Painters Union are the next ones. And I'm happy to report it's been about 3 weeks since we've had any shootings in District 1, so things are trending up. Thank you.
All right. Julia?
So not too much in this issue, only we continue with the meetings with the city about Florent Drive and Sherrill Drive flooding issues. We have a second meeting with the neighbors. So we are still, deliberating which are the better option to remediate some of the issues on Sherrill Drive on the backyard for the neighbor backyard. This is second phase. And Florent Drive is the issue with the icing in winter, the water coming for the sump pump. So we are still, the city is still determining what is the best option to fix the issue with icing. So it's to be continuous.
All right. Gabriella?
Nothing to add to Julia's report, so that's all.
All right.
Thanks.
Shannon?
I've got nothing.
Nothing? All right. Jay?
Lacey Road, or Sign Road, which was supposed to reopen today, continues to be closed until the end of the week. There were some delays in getting that project finished, so hopefully it will be open for the weekend.
All right. Then moving on, no unfinished business, new business. Looks like this first one maybe is a public works item, Dave?
The resolution R1, move approval, resolution R17821 to approve inclusive playground common earthwork.
Second.
Sent by Jade. The public works approve?
Yes, we did.
The finance approves.
Yes, finance approved.
And what's this one about?
Scott, why don't you speak to this?
All right. Welcome, Scott.
This is, we're continuing to work on our inclusive playground, which is adjacent to the splash pad. And what this resolution speaks to is we need to do some common earthwork to get the correct topography in order to place the playground. So that's what this resolution will approve, is to get that preliminary earthwork completed.
Dave?
And the city's bringing fill in, and a contractor will be leveling it out.
All right. Jay?
Yeah, as I've mentioned before, these direct referrals are bothering me, that we have so many of them all the time. But I'm wondering why this wasn't referred to the Parks Commission.
Oh, because can I just?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We already, we discussed this item, and because it's the amount of what it was, we referred to the Parks Department to take action. And I think we passed another resolution way back, like 2 months ago, or 1 month ago. So we discussed this in park already, so.
I think it's really just implementing the park versus approving the park. Chad, do you want to speak?
Yeah, there was, I don't have the exact date, but basically this was put out for bid, I think in August. And there were no bids, I'm sorry, there was one bid that was received that was way over budget, so the council rejected that bid and then directed Parks staff to find alternative ways to accomplish the work. So this is why it's back now.
Anything else? All right.
I am glad that we are moving forward because we started this project in 2018. It's 2021, so I think we need to see the light.
Chad?
I do also want to add, we definitely recognize a direct referral statement, Alder Allen, and this one was done on a direct referral largely because of the timing left in the year for construction work to happen.
You're still going to try and do this yet this fall? Okay.
Yes, that is the intent, correct, Scott, that this work will be happening yet this fall?
That is correct.
All right. Then moving on to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. And next one looks like another Public Works one, Dave.
This one is, oi.
Oh, no, RCC, I bet.
RCC.
Sorry. RCC, Gabriella, do you want to do this one?
Great. Yeah, I move approval of resolution R19021, set 2022 solid waste rates.
Second.
Sent by Jade. Did RCC approve?
Approved with an amendment.
Okay, and then Public Works.
Public Works approved with an amendment also.
All right, and then what about Finance?
Finance Committee approved as is.
All right. Do you want to speak to maybe what is going on here, Gabriella, and what the amendment was that you did?
Well, I think Misty should probably introduce it, but in both, well, Dave can speak for both Board of Public Works, but Resource Conservation Commission wanted to see it lower. So they amended it to lower the amount for the rates, and then I believe Board of Public Works did the same.
Misty, do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so first, let's talk a little bit about what this is. So this is the special charge for the refuse and recycling services that the city contracts to provide. So it's not included in the property tax levy, but it is on the property tax bill, kind of in that bottom right corner. And it's a charge per unit. So a single family home would have one charge on their tax bill. A duplex owned by the same people would have two. So the 2022 budget is, going through the process. When we establish what the expenditure budget is, the next step then is looking what the revenue needs to be in order to balance the budget. And so that's what's coming in front of you now is that rate setting process. So the fund balance policy that we use in the general fund is the same one that's reflected in the supporting documents for this separate fund, which would be you set aside 1 year of the state aid in case something happens there at the state level. And then we have between 15 and 25% is what our fund balance target should be. Best practice would be then if you're ever below 15%, you should have a plan to build back up to get to that 15%. And if you are over the 25%, you could use that amount that's over the policy for a one-time purchase just up to the top threshold of that policy. So that would be best practice. So ultimately council has authority over this. So the rate that was recommended and is included in the resolution is a rate of $220 per unit. That's about a 5.3% increase from last year. And the reason why that rate in particular was chosen was because there is 2 one-time purchases included in the 2022 budget, totaling about just shy of $37,000. So looking at using fund balance for those 2 items is to kind of take that off of the rates. What would that rate then be instead? And then when we do that, that puts our fund balance amount at 25.5%. So we're still right at that top of the policy. So what's recommended or what's in front of you right now is what would be recommended based on those best practices and is consistent with what's included in the mayor's budget. If the council chooses to do a different rate tonight, there is an omnibus amendment that we will adjust at the next council meeting when we go through the budget to adjust that.
All right, and then do you want to speak, Gabriella, to what you guys amended it to?
Yeah, RCC went to 217. They felt it was important to be lower than what it currently is, but didn't want to go trying to find a happy balance. So they went with $217. And I believe Board of Public Works did $215. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave.
That's correct. Head nod, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and I guess just to jump in, like I think obviously you're going to see increases in utility rates over time, but this coming year, people had a big increase on their stormwater utility rates last year, a potential increase next year, which is why you saw so many amendments from me, why you're going to talk about so many amendments from me tomorrow. But anyway, I just thought it was worth consideration if we should dip a little bit more into the fund balance in order to, it still be raising the rates because the current rate is 209. But if we dip a little bit more into the fund balance just to give, as an effort to kind of ease the increase. So in the spirit of that, I would like to make a motion to amend the resolution to change the rate increase to $215.
Second that amendment.
So it's 215, I just want to make sure that I heard that right, instead of 220? You went with
Yes.
the public works rate? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, seconded by Dave. And do you want to speak any more to why?
No, I would just like to hear what the other alders have to say.
Right, Dave?
If they agree or if they disagree.
I believe, I think Gabrielle might talk, I think we're at 215, our fund balance would be somewhere around 23%, so I felt comfortable with that.
23.5%, I think, is the number, exact number.
Right. Shannon, I think you had your hand up. Or maybe you're just...
I think it's I like the number 215. That works for me to kind of ease people into the higher cost.
All right. Hey, Randy.
This question is going back to Misty. Now, you mentioned earlier, just to answer the amendment, but I mean, the 220 that is listed in the supporting documents as best practices, and from a financial standpoint, I prefer to use a best practice going forward. Now, you mentioned earlier that do we have to have a plan to get back to the 25%? Or, I don't know, I guess I'd like some clarification.
Go ahead, Misty.
Yeah, so if we were below 15%, we're outside of our policy on the bad side, then we would have to have a plan to get back within policy. And the best practice would be if you're outside of policy on the top end, you would use or have a plan to use that money on those one-time uses. And if you're within policy, you would basically hold status quo.
Okay.
The rate right now?
209.
So I guess the issue I have with using fund balances in this way is this is only because all the residents are taxed through their property tax bill, even people who rent are taxed through their property tax bill that goes to their landlord. This is only benefiting people in the city who happen to get garbage collection services from the city. So all of the other thousands of people who live in the city aren't seeing any relief as a result of this action. And so I would prefer, first of all, we're only supposed to be using fund balance for one-time expenditures that aren't recurring. Obviously, this recurs every year. But I would prefer if we're going to do something to reduce the tax burden, that we do something that benefits all residents of the city and not just those who receive garbage collection services.
All right. Misty.
One point of clarification. So the fund balance that we're talking about using is the fund balance within this separate fund. So it's only paid in by the residents or the property owners that use the garbage service. So it's the same group of people paying into this fund balance that would be using this fund balance. And the amount that the 220 is at does use it for those one-time purchases in the 2022 budget. There's a camera and a compost screener that would be using the fund balance for instead.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one. I'm all over the place because due to the fact that, some people are getting assessed, for different things. We're already looking at a 3% increase. But Misty, if we do this, is it a danger that we're going to go down a slippery slope of, something happening? We're going to be tapping into this?
So that's where using it for those one-time purchases is the best practice and the way to do it. If you use it for one-time purchases, then when that goes away, you're no longer dipping into your fund balance and you're still supporting the base service that is there. If you use fund balance to support the base service that is provided, then you're right that is a bit of a slippery slope. At some point that will have to get caught back up because it's not sustainable to use fund balance for ongoing operations.
Thanks.
Okay.
So I don't know what we're doing right now. What we used to do is we had a 3-year contract for waste collection. What is our current situation with that? Are we in the middle of a contract right now? What's happening?
We are. So it's a 5-year contract. I believe it was a couple of years ago. So this might be our 3rd year coming up. But I don't recall what those increases are that are built into the contract. I'm sure we could get that for everyone.
Julia?
So what are the increases in the contract for 2022 from Pelletieri?
Well, the
The
proposed,
sorry.
oh, sorry, I was just saying, the proposed was to be 220, but now with the amendment, it would be 215, and it was 209, so it's either $6 or $11.
No. Pelletieri.
Charge us.
Yeah.
What's the increase from them?
Okay. Misty,
No,
do you
from
know that?
what is here.
Component, yeah.
Give you a minute.
Looking real quick, I don't know exactly how much that is, but the amounts that were in the budget is included in the supporting document. It's just not the amount per unit.
But can I follow up? Sure. My question is that, so the 220 will cover, I assuming that when you did this calculation, you also consider that increase and be sure that the 2020 will cover those the increase for next year. So my question to you is, we go into 215, it's gonna cover, maybe, or no, or we are breaking even, or it's no, we are using, I know that we are gonna use fund balance from anyway, but my question is, I want to be sure that the 215 will cover that increase.
It will not. So the 220 amount covers the charge for Pelletieri less the other revenues and plus the other expenses in the fund. Then the fund balance that we'll spend will only go towards those one-time items. If the rate is dropped to 215, then fund balance is being used to subsidize the Pelletieri charge that we pay.
So my follow-up question is, if we do this, maybe the increase in 2023, I assume it's going to be higher. So, or in 2023, the increase is going to be higher that we are proposing tonight, or we need to take more money from the fund balance. So we have to decide it. If we are going to postpone or delay the increase to 2023 or 24, or we are taking in small increases year to year. You know what I mean? So this is how we need to think about this.
Anything else? That's the hard thing. You don't know in a year what they might come back with. It could be another $11. It could be $5. It could be $20. But then you have to make up this year as well. I don't see anything else. So we've got an amendment, which is to change the number to 215. So we would first vote on that. And I don't really know. I think we're doing a roll call just because it could be split. Sorry, Tracy.
No worries.
So this is amending it to 215 from 220. So a yes would be you want it to be 215 instead.
Alder Ellen?
Aye.
Alder Radafrada?
No.
Alder Gerhart?
Yes.
Alder Herbst,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado. Say aye. Alder Strassman,
Aye.
Alder Udell,
No.
Alder Wheeler,
No.
5-3, motion carried.
All right, so now the motion is to have the rates at 215. Any further discussion at all? Seeing none? Oh, Jay, go ahead.
Where was the 217 proposal from? That was from Public Works?
RCC, Public Works was 215.
RCC? Oh, we got so many numbers out here.
Yeah.
My impression from RCC was that they wanted to go lower, but they were trying to find a compromise. But I think their preference, they were talking about 215 as well.
All right. I guess just to try to come to some unification here, I'm going to make an amendment to change it to 217.
All right, is there a second? So hearing none, then it would fail to proceed. So I do not hear a second. So we're still back on the now amended motion, which is at 215 for the rates. Any last comments at all?
Is that we need to keep our best practices and also think about what is going to happen in 23 or 24 if we don't increase now.
Randy?
I absolutely agree with you, Alder Arata Frada.
All right, so roll call on again now on the final motion that is now amended to 215. Go ahead, Rick, Tracy.
Alder Allen,
Aye.
Alder Gerhardt, or I'm sorry, Alder Rada
No.
Alder Gerhardt,
Yes.
Alder Herbst,
Aye.
Alder Maldonado,
Aye.
Alder Strassman,
Aye.
Alder Udell,
No.
Alder Wheeler,
No.
5-3, motion carried.
All right, that passes. And now we can go to the next one. Looks like this is probably finance is probably best to make this motion. Randy, would you like to move the flooring?
Sure. Excuse me. Move to approve Resolution R-190-21.
Nope.
Oh, sorry, skipped back up to the other. I want to revisit it. Motion to approve Resolution R-202-21, authorizing to approve fire headquarters flooring contract. Finance.
Second by Jay. And finance, do they approve?
Finance approved, yes.
All right, and Joe, do you want to just speak to what you're doing here?
Yeah, thank you. Typically, we don't come to the council for purchases under $25,000, but this is a part of a bigger project, that being the Station 1 remodel. I'm asking for a direct referral because of the fact that we attempted to establish this in the process for last meeting. There was a W-9 that was entered into the packet that was obsolete and needed to be replaced. We didn't get a replacement W-9 from Coils Carpet until after the deadline. The reasons we're asking for a direct referral primarily are the fact that lead time right now is questionable. Supplies, we're trying to order in advance of some of the supply chain issues that we're seeing. We know that at the end of the year, Coil has a limited number of installers available due to holidays and hunting, and then they won't do specific measurements until they have a signed agreement. We did receive 3 bidders, 3 sealed bidders. We advertised for 2 weeks. Of the 3 bidders, Coil came in at the lowest bidder. Their price is going to be at most $7,790. On these projects, we typically put a 10% contingency, so the most we would spend on this project is $8,590. We are still under budget on this project.
Do we currently have any staff or apparatus at Fire Station Number 1?
We do. We have a backup engine. We have the command post. Now, the other thing that we're staffing there is the Emergency Operations Center. We use it for training regularly because it's a central station and we don't have to place our firefighters at any one end of the city. We can respond from the center.
At one point, there were a lot of concerns about air quality within that building. Have those issues been resolved?
They have. One of the reasons being is most of the newer apparatus are coming with emissions controls, and those vehicles that we had before those controls were available have additional emission capture items available on them. So those things have been corrected.
Dave?
Why not tile? I've been down in the police department and, we have problems, so.
Part of it
run
has,
through that.
yeah, part of it has to do with the type of space where it's being used and sound absorption. We are using LVT in certain high traffic areas, but those areas that are not high traffic, we're using carpet tiles.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking it out. Finance, you want to do the next two, Rainey?
Yes. Motion to approve Resolution R-205-21, authorizing the redemption of general obligation community development bonds, Series 2011B, dated December 13th, 2011.
Second.
Sent by Jay. Did finance approve?
Finance approved.
And do you want to speak to this or let it?
No, we're going to have Misty because of the complexity.
All right, go ahead, Misty.
Back in 2011, TID 4 issued debt to help pay for part of that interchange off of Highway 14. The first time that we are able to prepay that debt is coming up on December 1st of 2021. And because the TID is healthy and has sufficient cash to make that payment in full, we're proposing that now to prepay that debt. It's 6 years early and it'll save the TID $300,000 in interest cost. This was included in the budget, so we are really just implementing that. But before I can prepay the debt, we need to notify the people that lent us that money that we're planning to do that. We have to do it between 30 days in advance. So what this resolution does is it directs Tracy to notify those people, and then I can make that payment in full. So that debt is off the books as of December 1st.
All right, I've got Julia, then Jay, then Dave.
Misty, how much is to call that debt? How much is? Because it's not here in the package.
Let's run in there. I will. So it's on the notice, all of those amounts in total. So about 3 million or so.
Okay, so you're gonna use the increment in the district to pay for this?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was 3,150,000.
Okay.
Jay.
You mentioned that notice has to be given to those who hold these bonds right now. Do we know, were those bonds mainly being held by brokerage houses or by individuals, or who has them? Do we know?
I don't. I'm sure there's a way to find out.
Well, if we have to notify them, I presume that we have a way to know.
So we notify, it's called Emma, which is an
okay.
online source of all of the information, and then that gets dispersed to everybody.
Gotcha.
Dave.
Misty, I'm just curious, I'm ignorant, what percent interest were these bonds paying these holders?
I don't know, but I can look. It'll take a bit to open.
Probably higher than now. Yeah, I think you're right. You can email me I don't want to hold us up.
All right.
Will do.
Anything else? All right, see nothing else? All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Next one, Randy.
Motion to approve Resolution R-210-21, amending the 2021 general fund budget, change vacant assessment intern to new assessment technician.
Second.
Sent by Jade, the finance approve.
Finance approved.
All right, and who wants to speak to this?
We have Amy and Misty, so Misty, you spoke earlier. Do you want to speak again, or do you want Amy this time?
Why don't I kick it off and then Amy can jump in? So included in the 2022 mayor's proposed budget was the conversion of the assessment intern into a full-time assessment technician. There were no council amendments to change that conversion, so we're expecting that that will hold steady for the 2022 budget. The assessing department has had a lot of turnover this last year between those vacancies as well as the town of Madison information that really needs to start getting pulled together quickly. The proposal in front of you is to hire that full-time assessment technician right away as soon as we can. The current assessing intern position that was approved for 2021 is currently vacant, so we won't be displacing an employee. And then the savings from that vacant intern position can be used to pay for that one extra month that will have the full-time technician on board.
Yeah, Jay.
I presume this conversion is already written into the 2022 budget.
Yep.
Correct.
All right, don't see anything else. Amy, anything you want to add?
No, Misty summed it up very well.
All right, then we can go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 And
Aye.
opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Special council meeting in 1 week at 5:30. Next committee, the whole meeting is actually tomorrow. It's not January 26th. I missed that earlier, but it's at 6 o'clock. So please be here at 6 or online at 6. And it'll be a little while. It'll be a longer one, but it's the most important thing we do all year. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Sent by Gabriella. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.